to accept the recording. Okay, and I am going to put myself on spotlight. Perfect. I was going to try to get into the habit of doing that first. I just forgot to. Okay, good. Some of you, if you were in one of my classes, you have probably saw this one, but I know I haven't done it for the open studio. So that's the goal for today. And look at my match. not on purpose. Anyway, Happy New Year. Glad everybody came to the first one for 2022. I don't know who I was talking to recently, but it's like, is it like nutty that it's 2022? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were all younger, that sounded like it was like so far away.
Like years.
I know, I have to
Exactly.
actually think about it, like, really? Wow.
Yeah, I know. Fast forward 66 years and, here we are. So anyway, I hope everyone had really good holidays, whether you got together with friends or family or whatever. We did a little bit of both, but, in moderation. So a little different than normal, a little better than last year, though. So that was good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I have two large paintings that I had started before we took our trip. So I started them in November. And I don't like to rush a painting, but I also get a little bit agitated, that might be the right word. If I have a painting that I really want to work on and it's been hanging around waiting for me, and going away for 3 weeks, coming back, it was Christmas, then it's New Year's. And I mean, not that I didn't have time, but I find that especially the larger ones, because I'm devoting a lot of time, materials, energy, whatever to it. I want to make sure that I'm fresh and I'm not just rushing in there. And it's not the sort of thing I feel like I can come in and do, just a short amount and walk away and leave, because these wind up taking many hours to do. So finally, yay, hooray, I got to come back to this one and do a little bit of work. And it is the same material, the pumice ground board that I make, that it's on. And you saw in the last open studio that I was doing a gouache, it was acrylic ink underpainting with that one. That one's still sitting there. I've done just a little bit since the last time. This one's a little different. This one has an underpainting with 3 different tones, shades, tints of that beautiful blue earth pastel that I like, that I use a lot for underpainting. It's just wonderful. And the beauty of the blue earth, as I've showed you before, is that, and I'll just do it again for people who haven't seen it, is, of course, there's ones that are missing. Anyway, it's a set of Quindo pink, and it comes in the full range of values. Ooh. And I find it super handy. Did someone ask a question? Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought I heard something. So that's the name of the brand, is Blue Earth Quindo Pink. And what I'm doing in underpainting, and this is a little bit different than the last one, is I tend to break it up into various values. This one was a 3 value, and then it was stretched a little bit. I added a few more values. But on a blank sheet of Bristol board, I'll make swatches of the under colors, and then I will test the colors on top of it. Because if I take a color and I test it on the white, it's going to look very different than if I test it on that dark Quindo pink, the medium Quindo pink, and the light. Look at how much darker it looks up there. Look at how much lighter it looks here. So that's one of the key things, is if you are setting up test swatch area, it's a great idea to have whatever colors that underpainting. So it was really funny. So I thought, okay, I'll do this for today. So I thought, I'll start working on a little bit. Well, I've been working on it like crazy for like the last 2.5 hours. So I'm just going to do a little bit of explaining and show you what it is that I've been doing with this. So as I explained, it's the pumice board is a very rough texture. So I can see the brush marks from where I put the pumice ground. I put my underpainting. I've left a little bit of it open over here so you can see this is the underpainting. That's a little bit of a color that's put on top of it. And then I've started to layer on the pastels. The textured board is really great for painting on, but it's also quite challenging. And especially if you're new to it, don't get frustrated. Well, you can get frustrated, but don't give up, because the more you use it, the more you can respond to the texture and not feel like you're battling it. What you want to do is you want to get used to it so that you're actually painting and you're using that texture so that it enhances the painting. So I really left a lot of the texture showing up in here. I'm not sure if it actually shows as much in the video. Back here, I did a little bit of blending because I wanted that deep Quindo pink and medium Quindo pink to actually just be a little speckle behind it. So it's just poking through. Foreground, I don't mind if a little bit more showing. So ideally, the foreground, and this is a very compressed area we're talking about, the whole painting in real life, it's probably only maybe a 20-foot span. So we're not thinking of something that's way off in the distance. So back here is going to have less texture showing. Foreground here is going to have more texture showing. And that I'm banking on is going to help create that feeling of the background being a little bit off in the distance. And there's not a competition of texture here and texture here. Truthfully, what's really nice is if you look up close, you can see the texture no matter what. It's just, most paintings are viewed from, I forgot what it is, but I think it's something like 5 to 8 feet from the actual painting. So, you want to bear that in mind when you're working, which is why you want to step back. So you see what it looks like from back there, as opposed to, what am I, like 18 inches away from it? So anyway, before I get going, any questions on the actual surface or the painting itself?
Betsy, it's Deborah. So is this different from the one that you did, I don't know, like months ago in the fall? You had your studio. I think you had a different underpainting, something, but I don't remember right.
Right. Well, I've been on a roll with water and buoys and boats for a while now.
Okay, it's
so
different.
The November, I didn't have a December. The November one was the very brilliant colored acrylic ink underpainting. So
that's right.
It is the same surface. I believe the demos prior to that I did that had water. I'm positive. Were just on pastel paper. So this is the second one you would have seen using this textured board that I made myself.
Yeah, I know. I remember now. It was the acrylic.
Yeah, it's the acrylic inks.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sitting right there waiting for me to come back to. I did a little bit in November, but it's got several more hours to work on. And when I say several hours, I'm not like slaving away for, let's say 2.5 hours today. I work, I stop, I step back, I go in the other room, I come back, because it's always thinking in terms of, it's a phrase that I find interesting. It's, stop the painting before it's finished. Well, a lot of times you don't know when it's finished. So what you do, there's a point in a painting that what I do is I leave it, I walk away from it. And then when I come back, what happens is I'm saying, oh, okay, yeah, I really only have to do a little bit more, or, I can identify what exactly it is I have to do. And sometimes I really don't have to do anything. So it's breaking away from it before you've like overdone it, emphasized things, over detailed, kind of mucked up the colors. Just walk into the other room. So my
Okay.
2.5 hours is a combination of painting, observing, and then just walking away and coming back.
Take a break. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Glad you're here, Deborah. Anyone
Thanks
else have-
for inviting me.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question? Okay. Okay, so what I'm focused on right now is this entire painting had its values laid out. You know, as I said before, I really think a lot in terms of value. So, yeah, I'm using that as my key, you know. So these colors that were underneath here, they're telling me, I mean, that's a medium and a light. Okay, I'm not going to use any dark pastels except for in those dark areas. So I've got a pretty limited palette. So I'm keeping within my range on the palette, really within this, that's it right there. The blue, blue-green, blue violet. Okay, so this is that analogous color wheel. So you wind up having, you know, more than three colors, but you have a range of colors that really are compatible because they're next to each other in the color wheel. And then these colors wind up being what they call discords, or I use them in smaller quantities. And a lot of these just come naturally, but you know, as a teaching tool, I think it's really handy to use this analogous color wheel because it describes it quite clearly. So I do have some peachy oranges. I do have some greens that are very warm, almost on the lime green, yellow green phase. And I do have some dark red violets over here. And they do exist in this painting, but the majority of the painting really is going to be in that dominant area of your blues. The thing with that, though, is that's why I want the reds to show through, because if blue is just next to blue, for me, it's going to be boring, and I love that color interaction. So I'm actually at the phase that what I'm trying to do is just bring up some of these edges so that some of the reflection pops out a little bit, not too much, because I want the focus there. So I really got in and I got that buoy set. I got the water from behind. So let's see what we got going on here. So I'm just gonna, let me just pull this up, my Swiffer, so I can clean the pastels. So I'm just gonna double check the darks. And yes, I do generally work dark to light. I do find on this type of surface that I can bring up the darks again. And I'm gonna try to stand to the side so that I don't block the view here. So I'm just gonna use the side of this. This is a very large Mount Vision. I love Mount Visions. They're just beautiful. I don't want to go too careful and too dark with this blue in here now that I'm looking at it. That's the little color study I have. So I'm going to get a darker violet in here because I don't really want that to be all that blue. This is one of these tirages that I keep saying I'm going to take the wrappers off. So there I have. Okay, I've got this lovely shape that's showing up in here. So I'm going to drag that in. I want it to be darker than that. Okay, kind of about the same value as this for the time being, because I'm going to be lightening this up. And this is the shadowed part of the reflection of the boat. So I'm going to bring this around, got this lovely shape that's being created. And I thought for seeing what's going on, if you can see the way I've lightened this, so the shape is beginning to show up a little bit. To bring this through. While I have this in my hand, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna put it in. Look at how much darker it looks here. Okay, this was on top of dark, so it looks lighter. Okay, gonna do a couple of little spots here. so that I'm getting a little bit of a darker violet here, move that across. And this is you know, in my classes, I talk a lot about the color attributes. So this is a violet, but it's a semi-muted violet. It's not vivid, it's not bright. It certainly looks violet, but it is definitely muted. And it's in the middle range of values. Okay, so breaking up some of that in there, coming down, coming over, bring a little bit of that there. I don't want to have just violet on that side, and I haven't used a lot of violet over here in this one yet. So I'm going to come in and remember this is a middle value. So I'm just going to either stick it on top of some of the darker value areas or do a little merging between the dark and the light, because I don't want it to feel as if it's a harsh line, because it's a water line, it's fluid. So coming across, just adding a little bit of that violet. And because it's muted, it's not going to jump out. So I want the reflection to jump out. I don't really want the water to jump out. And this violet's really looking nice in here. Okay, there's this dark edge here. I'm going to come in, I'm thinking of the water, just so I've left a little bit of that dark edge there. Okay, let's drag a little bit that over. Because it's muted, I'm going to just take and put a couple of strokes in the back. Just very lightly. Okay, flatten it out a little bit. It's receding, losing a little bit of that light. I can bring this back up again. Now, I also have violet in here, okay? That's what I use for the reflection on the buoy. Okay, there's this really, this beautiful value is underneath part of it. This is underneath the other. And I used a variety of peaches of different values, you know, medium light to light. And then I skimmed it over with, I'm just going to do a little bit just to get, there's a little hard edge there showing, and I'm just going to soften that. So remember, our color is affected by what's around it. So by using this in a couple of different spots, it's going to look different in each of those areas just based on the colors that it's near. I'm looking at this and saying I've got some of these lovely areas that are coming in. Turning this around. Remember, that's water, so I don't want to get too. It's feeling like there's a shadow. Okay, good. I'm going to keep them all down, the tray down here. Okay, so let's come in now with, okay, trying to create this shape right in here. And I thought you might be interested in seeing how the shape appears. Okay, so I had the blues. I just added some violet to kind of tone down that darker one. So I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a little bit of a medium dark blue. It's a little bit warm, and I'll carry over this color here, but now it's going to be put down rather lightly on top of the other, so it's not going to stand out quite as much as it does over there. And I'm going to just drag it across. This is what I love about this board, is when you drag it, the texture actually begins to show up. I'm wondering if what I'll do, I don't really know if you really need to see my, let's see how that looks. Okay, yeah, let me get in a little closer, because I don't think this at this point's that important. Perfect. I'll try to keep my head out of the way. Okay, and I forgot with it being darker too. It was like the lighting in here was like, oh, it looked all right for painting, but for filming, it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to play around with that. Now I'm getting this lovely interaction here. Similar values, similar value. That was a dull violet. This is a little bit more vivid, isn't it, than that violet? So, but it's about the same value. That's coming through. Let's put a little of it right there. Just, oh, that looks really nice. I'm going to bring a little of that there just as a little carryover because I don't want it to look like stripes. That shape's starting to show up. I'm going to go for, I've got this really nice muted, let me double check it, muted light, medium. Let me double check that one's there. Let's see what this one is. I think this one's even brighter. Yeah, this one's a little, they're about the same actually. This one's a little softer. So I think this one's a little harder. No, I'm gonna stick with the harder one first because I want those ridges to show up. Okay, I'm gonna come in here. See this, I've got the, they're like pool noodles. I don't really know what they're called. They come down, they're, you know, part of your buoy system. And then there's the chain and the ropes underneath that connect to the buoy. So this is coming down. So what I'm there, you got a little nautical lesson. Oh my gosh, look how orange I look. Yeah, just a second. Let me turn this off. That'll be, nope, it's still orange now. I'm just dark orange. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to come in with this slightly lighter now. And this is going to be a carryover. Got this really wonky reflection that's happening. And it's going to come through here. And also reflecting that boat. So that shape is beginning to show a little bit more now. Bring this around here. A little more pressure. A little bit more pressure. Okay, going to come in with one that's a little bit lighter. Is that the one I used? Okay, this is a darker yellow. So we're just going to bring this right in here. I'm going to just bring this up. So it's like, I'm not sure I like that color. I used a little of it there. It's looking down here. It's looking a little because of the dark colors around it and underneath it. So I'm going to put it down just as a guideline for where I'm going to. Okay, lights here. I'm going to come over this, put down a color that I think is working, but not quite. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, ooh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? But I'm going to lessen that by taking one of these greens that I have here and bringing that in. Okay. I'll do just a little bit right here. And now I have a green. This is it's a little bit of a cool green, but it's pretty light. It's almost like a minty color. So I have to use this just judiciously. I don't want to have it too much, but this is where there's a shadowy band here. So I'm using this to kind of just catch the tops. I'm kind of veering away from, I've got lots of violets there, but I really feel like I want to get a little bit of this green in. I can always, same value, I can always come back in with a violet or a peach afterwards. Okay, come through there. A couple little pieces, want the little lights here. Okay, and this is where it's all about contrast. There's not much of a contrast there. Two things I can do. One, I have a bristle brush. This is kind of like a flat one as opposed to a rounded one. And I'm just gonna just lift a little of the color. A brush will lift pastel. On this board, it does tend to blend it too, but on most pastel papers, if you use a brush, you lift, you don't blend. I'm going to come in with something that's a little bit darker there. Remember I had used this color. So I'm just gonna, okay, now it's showing up. That was not showing up before. Okay, there we go. Sideways. Okay, I'm gonna get some big strokes over there. I'm trying to create that where that light's going, so that's good. Let me get that, a couple of things in that boat. The boat's white, but we all know that when we paint, things don't really look as white because of all the lights around it. So let's just get in here. This is actually a very light blue, and I have the light pink window underneath it, and I have a light layer of a dull light value olive green. Gonna let some of those lines show through there.
Could you zoom out so we could see?
Can you say that again?
Could you zoom out?
Oh, how silly of
can.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for saying something. Yeah, it would help if you could actually see what I'm painting. Yeah, I forgot when I zoomed in, I didn't check to make sure that everything fit. So this is the area that I'm talking about, where I had down a light pink window underpainting. And then on top of it, I had a very light value, like an olive green. And now I'm putting this light value cool blue on it. And I'm letting some of those lines show through, and there's like a little bit of a shadow that's happening on the side of the boat. And I'll get the edge of this later when I can stand right in front of it. But I'm just gonna have it's a little straight now. The boat actually has a little bit of a curve. Okay, come up along this edge right here. Okay, get that edge of that boat there. And I had put down that same dark blue that's there, but I want to really knock that down. I don't want it to be about the same. So I'm gonna look for something that's a little bit more of a slate blue that is dark but doesn't have a lot of, ooh, this might be good. Yeah, okay, so this one does not have as much blue in it. So I'm gonna come in, I'm just gonna knock that down a little bit. And yes, it's probably black paint on the boat, but that's okay. That's okay, I can have blue. To drag some of that down. Okay, I'm gonna take this, I'm just gonna drag just a little bit over where there was those shadows. There's something that was falling on the boat. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the, just gonna come up, just add a little bit of that edge where the boat, I don't know what it's called, the side of the boat. Okay, just, I might soften that down a little bit too. Okay, so that's starting to come together there. I need the edge of the boat here to lie in the water. So again, I'm going back to that color combinations, and I've got these violets and I've got greens. And when I think of water that's in shadow, I think of a little bit of those cool greens, warm greens. So let's see what I have here. I want something to be somewhat dull, a little bit lighter. Okay, this one's pretty, that's a little too light. So let's try this guy. Oh, okay, he's good. So even if it looks straight, it's the boat has a shape to it. So I'm just gonna come down and give it a little bit of a curve there. Just similar to what I did over here. I'm just getting a little bit of a contrast going. And I realized I put that up a little bit too high. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down and I'm just gonna brush that off. I'm gonna reestablish that dark that I had there. Because there is a little bit of a, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Boat reflection, okay? Reflections, you know, if you're doing reflections, you want to be really careful that you're not creating this mirror image because colors do change when they hit the water. Frequently, if it's dark up here, it's slightly lighter when it's in the water. And if it's light up here, it's slightly darker. So it kind of does the opposite. But there's an edge there where that boat is sitting in the water. It doesn't necessarily show up in the photograph, but I know that right here, there's little edges of where the boat sits in the water, and there's usually some sort of little subtle light reflection. Here, I just put a couple of little reflection of the light's coming right here. So I've got a couple of little, just little ticks there, just to capture a little bit of that light. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I do not want it as strong because if I have those same bright lights over here, your eye's going to be going back and forth. The idea of this composition is this kind of movement here and this kind of movement here, so that these are all kind of coming over to this buoy. So let's get a little bit of the blue. I'll just pop that right in there. Okay, that's dark there. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring a little bit of the light out. So the edge of that boat shows up. And I'm just going to take this, let's check this up here. I'm going to do a little test up here. Slightly darker, good. So I'm going to just come down. And I am going to, I want to have too much blue in this over here because it is a reflection, but at the same time, I want to have a little bit that's of the colors that are actually in the boat. Remember I said I had used a green up here that was underneath. So I'm going to, these are all similar values. So I'm just going to randomly, oh, look at the color interaction happening there. Randomly put them in. And the boat goes up way high. So, you know, we don't have to get all, measure the whole thing, but I have a rough idea. Got a couple of little dark patches there, looking up here. Bring a little bit of this out, come around. Remember I put that darker color, so that's like a little bit of a cue for me that I'm gonna come around some of those darker patches. Let me step back. Oh yeah, the colors in there are looking nice. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put a little bit of that right there. I'll have to probably sort that out a little bit. Now there's a little darker area right here. So I'm just going to put a little of that green right, just a little, and then I'm going to bring that. Boats frequently have that well-used look to them. I don't want it to look sparkling. I debated about putting, the actual photograph has the buoy marking on it, and I wasn't really so sure I wanted to put the markings on it. So I have left that alone. Okay, that's really nice. Okay, so now I have this mass here. I want to cut that in with some of the water. Okay, so I'm going to take my base color that I was using for my water, and it's not super dark up here. So this dark one I'm not going to use. I'm going to choose one that's a little bit lighter. Not too light. Oh, geez, where'd it go? Okay, I must have put it over here. Let's try this. Oh, okay, this guy's pretty good. Oh, no, he's not. He's too light and he's too violet. Forget that. Okay. Okay, I will use this. Okay, so this is now going to create the contrast. Okay, I've got that about the value I want. I'm going to bring the water in, and the water is going to start cutting in and breaking it up so that we don't have all these nice little neat edges. Just using the side. I'm going to try to not create fingers, you know, when you do that, and you wind up having everything about the same. And if I do, I'll just have to come back in and adjust that afterwards. This is where it was semi-light. So I'll just kind of drag that out just a little bit so it doesn't go too much darker. Okay, and let's get this. There we go. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in, and I like the point that I've got a little bit of that boat shape there. So I'm going to just put a lighter color right there. So I get this V that's happening. Come over here. Do that. Okay. And then I'm just going to bring a little bit of these light areas through here. Bring them in. This is a light violet. Swing it around back and forth. And I've dropped this down. Remember, I've got this area here. Oops, let's just, all the textures showing up there. Let's see if you can see that pretty well. I think you can. Okay, this same violet is now going to connect over here. So we're gonna, this is light, that's light. Okay, we're gonna come down, bring a little bit, get light. This area is a little bit in the shadow. Remember, this is a buildup of light and shade. So I'm gonna come through. Remember, I had that nice minty green. Well, similar value, slightly lighter, and I'm coming through with this violet. Bring it over. A little too crazy mark there. That's looking pretty good. I'm gonna leave that. Light, see the way the light's coming through here too? Okay, I got rid of a little bit too much light over here. So I'm just gonna kick this part up just a little bit right here. Light. Let's put a little bit of light, just a little light drag right here. Light drag. Okay, don't want it as light as that. I'm gonna push a little harder right there. Pressure. Okay, that's making sense. Come down, it's coming through here. Gonna have the light go a little bit right, playing right on the inside of this bit of water and right there. I think I might have it come a little bit like that. Okay, and because water, gonna just drag it sideways there. And right where it's right there. A little bit in here. I'm just, it's the shape. I'm trying to get the shape of this moving water. So it's a contrast of, okay. Just gonna use this for a minute. I'm not seeing much of a contrast right here. And I really don't want to go much lighter in the water. This, I'm just gonna very lightly, this is again with the bristle brush, lightly gonna take that off. Come around, got too linear because of the mark that was underneath there. Gonna make this just, it is in shadow, but I want it to be slightly lighter. So I'm gonna take a green that's a little, this is like that yellow green. Okay, I'm gonna put that yellow green in here. Because it's on dark and dark texture, it's not coming out looking super light. Okay, there, that's better. I like that better. And when like, I mean, what I'm trying to do is set up contrast. So I'm feeling like there's more contrast happening. And I want this to be soft. I don't want this to be, this is a little hard. This is a harder edge. We've got harder edges here. These edges here, I want them to be soft, lost edges, but I still want there to be a little bit of a contrast. Oh, you know what it is? I think I should get in a little of that violet. Oh, here's the violet that's in between the two. Now, I'm putting this next to, not on top of, that other color, because that yellow and that violet on top of one another could wind up kind of looking like a little muddy. So if it's next to it, there might be a nice little contrast. Let's get that dark. I'm gonna go a little darker than I had before. I'm gonna come right in here. Okay. That popped up. Okay, popped up lightly. Have it fade. I don't have to come all the way down to here because there's already a contrast coming through. And then I have more water here. The same sort of thing. Let me get a little bit of this violet in here. And I'll get that dark color. And just bring that around. So you can see why you can spend hours doing this. Because you're just like, it's kind of like, and I'm creating this, you know, I mean, I have the photograph, but I'm really, you know, taking my cue from that might be a little too blue, but I'm going to leave that for the time being. Soft, soft, soft. Soft, let that violet show through, bring it over here. Put some more of that same blue here. Knock it down. Let's double check that's the one I used. Knock it down. You can hear that board, can't you? I mean, it's just, oh, now you can't see it because I went to the other side. Oh, no, you got the whole thing now. Oh, no, we're all right. You got the whole thing. For a second there, I thought
Betsy,
yeah.
did you put your own, it's Deborah, did you put your own pumice on this board or did you buy it like that?
No, I put my own pumice. So
Okay.
it's gator board, which is a hard, much harder than the exterior shell is harder than foam core.
Right.
And it's at least 2 coats of gesso, and then anywhere from, you know, 3 to 5 layers of the pumice ground, also known as pastel ground. You know, there's a variety of
Browns, you mean? Yeah.
yeah. So it's got that lovely pumice in it. So it's just going to come through here. And go back and forth, coming through. So this sort of, see, I like this being light because it's popping out, but I gotta stand over here. I kind of feel like it might be a little too light. Oh, I don't know, I'll leave it. You know, if you're not sure about something, leave it, because what happens is it may change. You know, I still have to do a little bit more developing over here. You know, I have to sort this out because this is feeling a little bit like a void right here. And the way I'm going to, because I'm seeing this as this sort of a design. So let's look at this in terms of the void. Okay, it's a void because it's dark and it's a dark corner. This is dark, but it's not a dark corner. It's got a variety. So I think I'm going to leave the photograph behind and the sketch that I have up here. And I think I'm going to bring a little bit more light down on this side. And again, I'm going to go for warm. And let's get this. This is like one of those days where it was like, you know, it was like really, it was calm, but there was just enough of a breeze to have these really soft little ripples that were happening in the water. And there. This is the same green that's up there, but it's looking different down here because it's on top of this dark blue. Oh. You got a little of it right there too. I have to be careful. That tooth is getting a little filled up there, so I'm going to leave that. Okay, let's look here. Come around, come through. Let's get another little bit of light in here.
Betsy, it's Deborah. I have another question for you.
Yeah.
On your rope that's in the water,
Yeah.
and the shading on the left side, that blue on the, are you leaving the whole down inside the water?
This.
Yeah. But see how,
No, I'll probably knock that down. You know, I've got that in there for a little bit of a contrast. Up here, you can see there's a contrast in the.
I can't really see up
you
here.
can't.
But I mean, would you sort of vary the color of that blue, you know, on the left side inside the water? Would you vary that as it goes? Yeah, exactly. That whole line that goes down, go all the way down. Yes. What would you do with that? Are you leaving it the same color all the way down? Are you making
No,
it?
I'll get in there and I'll change some of that.
Oh, okay.
Dark, you know, and I've got some other dark colors. I'd probably bring in, I've got my dark violet. I could bring in my dark violet if I needed to. And it's just a bit to break it up because I don't
Yeah.
want it to feel like it's solid. And the other thing I could do is I could bring in that green again. And that's what I have up in the sketch. And I realized since I've moved in, you can't see the sketch anymore. Just to so pressing a little bit harder. I'm gonna bring that a little over here too. And see that there's a point at which you want to forget the photograph, okay?
Yeah,
Because you just really want to be able to create a design. A little bit of that right in there is really looks good. Oh, geez, maybe I could use a little bit over here, but I still need to make this a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to come through so it's not so dark. And I think I'm going to bring a little bit of that same green that I used over here. It's feeling much like green's over here and not over here. I'm going to bring some of that right in. Another thing that's great about this board, what's happening is this is only catching the top. So the color that's underneath remains there. And the color stays on top. Yes, this is going where it's like do a little bit of a bridge. Drag it through. Yeah, that worked out really nice. I'm going to make it a little bit brighter right there. I'm going to come in. I'm looking at this. I'm just going to come around that, trim that up just slightly. As I said, when I do that, it winds up pushing it in, and so that you don't see the texture. And then if I want that texture to show up again, that's a dark area. So I'm going to pull out the violet, that a dull violet that I have right here, and I'm going to edge that right there. And the texture comes back up again when I go over that. I'm not really so sure I'm crazy about this shape that I've made here. It feels a little bit too, okay, yeah, it feels way too contrived. So I'm getting rid of that. And I'm gonna get that blue up. If you haven't worked on this paper, this sort of surface before, it is pretty easy to bring up and get rid of things. You never get the texture right back to exactly the way you had it before, but you can, let me stand back here and look. Okay, so those shapes are starting to show up. Okay, now I've got some of these lighter colors that are here, and that's that same peach. And I'm not at this point going to introduce a lot of new colors. I don't want a lot of new. So I'm going to get the same peach. And I'm just gonna just little bits in here. And I'm gonna do just not much here, and I'm gonna do it a little bit softer because this is a little bit in shade here. Now it's in light again. Okay, and I'm gonna get a little of it over here. And that's gonna bridge with that minty color. Similar value, but a little bit more of a. Okay, so see the way all that blue, all I had over here? So see, I've disrupted all the blue. So I'm now bringing in, okay, I'm gonna get a little bit of light right here. So I have nothing over here that's actually would be reflecting, but I feel like I'm gonna pretend that there's some light there. So I'm gonna get like a little bit of light that's hitting back there and a little bit of light that's hitting the tops. And you can see that texture that's showing up because it is so much lighter than the colors that were underneath. Because I do not want this to be all blue. I want, okay, I like those colors a lot. Okay, you can't go wrong with a blue and an orange. Right through. A little bit, don't go too crazy with it. I'm putting it to the side now. Okay, gonna get a few more little lights. I'm gonna come back into this. I'm gonna do a little bit. Okay, this is the lightest white that I have. Okay, this is that, Diane Townsend number 10. I am not going to put this down here. I want the light to stay up there. So I'm gonna go for something that's bright, but not white. So I have this really light. It's got a little more pigment in it. You can see the peachy quality to it. Of course, it all ties in. It goes a little bit more with over here. So I'm going to just get some of these peachy areas, just drag it down, a little drag down. Okay, right through that is a little bit of light. I'm not going to put that there, and I'm going to, it's not going to be as light as that either, because that's an object that's actually catching light. This is not catching light, it's reflecting the buoy line there. So I'm just gonna, and again, contrast, getting that in there. Let's just come through there, break it up just a little bit. And let's put a couple of little marks out here, because it would break up. Well, let's put it a little lighter right there. Okay. Up at the side of my finger, come through, and these are all, I'm using a little bit more of the tip. I'm trying, one of my goals is not to paint with the tip of my pastel. I think I told some of you I was doing that mentorship with Desmond O'Hagan, who I absolutely love his work, and he's a wonderful instructor. I've taken a workshop from him, and he was offering a mentorship program. So it's really nice to be able to have someone, look at your work, give you suggestions, have a discussion, talk about how you can evaluate your work with a and boy, I'm having trouble talking and painting at the same time. with the from a really experienced master artist. So I'm just loving it. It's really good. Okay, so see the way this light's picking up? I'm coming back in, I'm picking up the white. I'm really trying to paint, value by value, but I am with this one moving back and forth just because. Okay, got to get that in there, change that around. Okay, get a little bit of it here. Okay, just for fun, let's see what happens if I put like little, like maybe this is picking up a little bit of the light. right here, picking up a little bit right there. Okay, and because Deborah mentioned it, I'm not picking on you, Deborah. I'm gonna come
That's
back in
okay.
here. This is typically what I do. I get down markers. That's a marker. That's a cue. That's a cue. I'm not finished. It's a cue where something that's a cue where there's something dark. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna come in and I want there like to be a little bit of a distinction. I really like the way it worked in my little sketch where I'm gonna have to go back because I want you to see the little sketch. So let me just move this in just a little bit. Let's see, can you see? Nope, I have to go in one more. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Really like the way this worked right in here. Okay. So what I had done is I'd gotten that dark there as my reminder. So I'm going to get that green. This is why it's great to do color studies for small color studies for your paintings, because you can then refer to that instead of your photograph. So I'm going to come through, I'm going to break that a little bit. Come through. And then this is where there's a lot of action that's happening there because the water's just moving around the base of that buoy line. So I'm going to get some of this. Same peach. Okay, we've used it in a couple different spots. And I am going to come in with a little bit of the white, just a little hints. I can knock that out later if I feel like I made it too. I want to feel like there's a little bit of turbulence happening there. Let's get that peach color back in here. And then I can come in with my dark, and I'm gonna define a couple of these and just putting a little bit of dark around them. Just a little bit, couple of areas. Like it's underneath the water line there. So you kind of think about what it is you're painting. So I'm painting the water line. So I want to make sure that, oh, this is going to go right over to here. Very lightly. And then I've got, oh, there's something about when you make marks sometimes you wind up making them very uniform. Well, I wind up making them very uniform. And so I've got like these even intervals here. So I'm just going to come back, use a little bit of the edge of the brush and just knock a few of those down so they don't look quite so even. And then where is that green? Let me get this lovely green. It's a little lighter. Okay, so I got a lot of little action that's happening here. I'm gonna bring this out here because this water is all continual. And bring it up here. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it like that before I go too crazy with it. But something that happens when you have a color that you really like, it's like, okay, don't overuse it. Okay, let me put this back to its, there we go. Okay, so now you got the three. And actually I did, sometimes I'll take the photograph and I'll throw it away, not throw it away, put it away. And sometimes I leave it out. But I tend to like leave it out of view so that I don't wind up, I want to spend more time looking at this than I want to look at this. So this has been down here attached to the bottom of the easel. So I can drop down and I can look. So I'm looking in here and I'm seeing the shapes and I've got this pretty uniform shape here. So I'm going to go back in at some point and really kick up these let's get these shapes here a little bit. Okay, and then this here, I'll just move that there and trying to see here. Okay, so this is, it's coming down, it's kind of slipped a little bit farther out to the side. And I don't want this to look like it's, so I'm gonna play around with this shape right here. I'm gonna bring this in just a little bit more and just take a lighter value and come in here. I'm gonna come in a little bit more on this side too. That's looking better. Still a little bit too far out. Let's look at this side here. This side here, I'm just going to come in here. There. Yeah, I'll have to, you know what? Sometimes what works out well, because I'm trying to make sure that this doesn't look, I've got different sizes, different intervals. Okay, that part's all right. I'm looking in the monitor and I'm seeing it's like sliding a little bit to the right, as opposed to see here, it's like a little bit, it's straight, whereas this is sliding a little bit to the right. So what I'm gonna have to do is get in there and just move this guy in a little bit right here. And I'm just gonna come in and do it real lightly so you can see it light. And then I'm just gonna come in and bring him in a little bit. And I can come back in with my brush and kick up the, so that's a little bit better there. And I also see it's right here. Oh, you know what?
Hey, Bets,
Yeah,
it's Paula.
yeah.
Maybe bring that peach color in the third reflection down a little bit more to the left. Yeah. Makes it look a little straighter.
There.
Better already, yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Paula. And this peach I just love too. It's gonna just kick that up just a little bit. Kick them up a little bit there too. Okay, so that's what I'll play along with, because what I'm talking about is this. Okay, same. I got a little carried away with myself over here. Look at that. That's pretty well straight on, a little bit out. Now the water does move, and it's not going to be exact because the water is moving. But I really have come out a little bit too far. So this whole area here, look at. So in the 2.5 hours I worked earlier today, that was something I really should have noticed. And I did not. So there we go. Yeah, even just scribbling that out on the left-hand side helps. And then I'll just move this over a little bit on this side too. So hopefully you enjoyed that. You know,
Really enjoyed it, yeah.
You know, it's like I said, you saw like just a snippet, and you know, there wasn't a lot of it I was doing here, but it was that idea of a lot of blue, identifying those the colors I'm picking up. I'm thinking of their value, and I'm thinking of color interaction. So I'll take some close-ups of this so that when I send out the link, you've got a close-up photograph of the, well, I'll fix this first. So that you can see the colors that are on top, because I mean, I love painting water, but I don't want it to just be blue, because water reflects a lot of other things that are around it. So I'm using my artistic license, and I am thinking of this area over here, which is void of shapes, except for the lines of the water, and using color to help fill that void in a very subtle way. Okay, any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you do a color study for every painting, and what's a good size to do it in?
Good question. I do not do it for every painting, but I do it for every large painting. So anything that is 16 by 20 or bigger, I definitely do a color study. Things that are smaller than that, I do variation on a color study. trying to see if I have one that's, I just started a new book not long ago, so I don't know if I've got, let's see. Okay, well, I'll just use this as an example, okay? I did a commission. So I just did, see, it's just the colors are there, loose shapes. I'm not getting all tied up with details, but I've got my shapes and my colors in. So I do something, and that was a 12, no, that was an 11 by 14. But yes, so it depends on what I am doing. But I do start with what I call a starter set of colors, so that for paintings, I will have, that one goes with this one. So for paintings, let's flip through the book here. Of course, now I'm not going to find any, am I? I have to, here's one. Okay, that I tried all different. This was for a class, but we were doing, what happens when you put the same color on different backgrounds. So I'll do things like that. Quick, you notice I'm not getting caught up on the details. That one everybody saw. No, this book doesn't actually have any other little color studies. And then for classes, what I've started doing is doing my color studies on and sketches on Bristol board, because it's a little heavier weight than sketchbook paper. And if I'm putting things up on the board, I don't have to rip them out of my sketchbook. So that Bristol board, I do like a lot. It's not good for pastel layers because it's too smooth. It doesn't have tooth to hold the color, but it's fine for underpainting, testing your underpainting colors. It's fine for doing color studies. And I also, like I said, I wanted to do a little bit more with the gouache. So I got a nice set of gouache paints for Christmas, and I'm going to do a little bit with them. And you all know I like my acrylic inks.
Betsy, it's Deborah. Could I see your photograph again, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. No, and I'm looking at it, and the dark lines, the shadow part of the ripple.
Yeah.
They're very dark.
Right, because the photograph's not correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's why you have to be careful with the photograph. It was not that dark in real life. That's the printer. Okay.
Okay.
The printer, the photograph might be too dark. That's the problem with photographs. Okay. So we know when we look out at water, there are shifts and there's value changes, but there's not going to be these really dark patterns on a bright sunny day. Not going to be that unless it's reflecting something, and it's not reflecting anything.
Okay.
So I have knocked down the values so that I have to be careful. I don't really like this stripe that's showing up right here. And that's, I think, from the underpainting, because when I look at it in real life, it doesn't seem as noticeable as it does on the monitor.
Do you have many colors in your two stripes?
Do you have any colors in them? Well, I just added some more colors on top. But yeah, there's the red underpainting. There's the darker blue, and then I have gone over it with the lighter blues so that certain areas I don't mind if there's like a little bit of a ridge, but I don't want there to be I don't want it to be a stripe. The same thing existed here, and I've been able to knock it down up here.
Yeah,
that's not noticeable. It's very noticeable here, especially in the monitor.
Are you going to work on that?
I'm not seeing it as much in real life, but in the monitor, that stripe is really bad. So
would you be working on that then?
Oh,
the
yeah.
Stripe?
Yes,
okay.
yes. Yeah, I do not want there to be a strong stripe. These are a little more subtle. Up here, there's still a bit of a stripe. Oh, yeah, see that dark worked out well here. It did not work out well down there. So I'll play around with that.
Not easy. Gosh,
Yeah.
so much to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I like the especially on the ball. I like the left side of it, the red part.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that that's not only the underpainting, you put, that's the colors on top of that red underpainting.
Yes, it
right?
is. It's it's this color and this color on the light, on the shadowed side. And then I used violets and peaches and a little
Yeah.
bit, no green. Well, green in the lines that are on the buoy, but the actual white part. The only thing that's white on the buoy is that little tiny bit right there.
That,
Otherwise,
yeah,
I did not use white.
I love the color on the left side, you know, the peach.
Yeah, yeah, went
You
for
like it too.
something a little bit warmer, trying to, I got a lot of
Okay.
cools in there, so I wanted to put something a little warmer.
Okay, thanks. What a great lesson.
Thank you.
Betsy?
Yes, Jenny?
Betsy, what brand of pastel did you use for that violet at the beginning of your demonstration? What, it looked
What,
like it was a chunky, yeah,
this guy right here?
yeah. mhm.
That's a Diane Townsend Tirage. And I've
Oh.
been threatening to take the label off for, like, people in class are probably sick of me talking about not taking the labels off. But I do take the wrappers off of my pastels. I do.
Okay,
There's
it looks
something
like a
about
nice,
the tirages. They're kind of new, so I
Okay.
haven't actually taken the labels off of them. And they're not necessarily the type of stick that because a lot of times I'll crack them,
right,
take half out.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like the shape of them, so I don't really
Yes.
want to crack them.
It's a
So-
good shape. That's what I'm
I
noticing.
know, it's a really,
It's a
and
good shape.
look at that big mark you can make
Yeah,
just by going like
oh,
that.
yeah. See,
You
that's
know?
a good shape.
Really
And then
nice.
when you paint larger, do you recommend that your paper, if you were to use large sanded paper, should it be mounted on a board before you get started?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I would recommend that once you start doing the 16 by 20s, and yes, you can use the surface, excuse me, the surfaces, the sanded surfaces are often on a card. So it's heavier
Okay.
weight than paper.
yeah, right, right.
But the reality of it is the larger you go, the more problematic it is with, the level of humidity and,
Right.
getting some
Yeah.
sort of a warp.
Right,
If you're using liquid underpainting, larger area, and you're doing the liquid on it. So the mounted papers, the mounted
Okay.
sanded papers really are
Okay.
more stable.
okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Thank you.
Not that you can't do it, but
Yeah.
you
No,
just have to kind of think that.
Yeah.
And the largest I've done is an 18 by 24. And I do tend to use these boards that I make myself when I start going bigger.
Okay, good
because
to
I can
know.
control it.
Good to know. Thank you.
Betsy, on the 3 to 5 layers of pumice ground, did that leave some ridges and valleys of texture? Okay, I could see that texture. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
you
Yes.
see it when you zoom in, it's nice.
Yeah. The thing of it is with the texture, and that's why I say stick with it. Stick with it because I remember the first time I painted on a textured board, I took a workshop with Christine Ivers, and it was a nocturne workshop. And it was like, holy moly, this is hard.
Oh,
So if you're somebody who likes a challenge, which I do, I was bound and determined to figure out how to make it work. So, and you can, I do random. I just put it on randomly. There's all different ways you can use the texture. You can even use a roller. And by all accounts, not that I've ever done it, but by all accounts, if you use like a little mini house, wall roller, that you can get it on smoothly. It'll be a little bit more, not really like a popcorn ceiling, but it'll have a different sort of texture than a brush, which you're going to leave the stroke, which I like. I like this. I like all that texture underneath. So that's why I do it. Any
Well,
any other
you
questions?
discovered something.
Yeah, it is. It's really great. It's fun. But well, and actually, here's something. I don't know when it's going to happen, but the Cape Museum of Art, I'm in the process of organizing a 2-day workshop painting nocturnes, and it will be using these boards. We're gonna make our boards, make our own
Nice.
boards. And then do our color studies and work on our palettes and little, mini things the one day. And then the next day, after our boards have dried and they're all prepped, we're gonna paint on the boards. So,
Is it gonna be in person probably?
yes, I'm hoping it's gonna be in person.
When would
I
it
think
be?
it's gonna be at the Cape Museum of Art, which is in Dennis. And I believe we're shooting for May to do it. I just spoke to them the other day. I think that's the way it's gonna go. She was looking at the calendar once we came up with an idea. So I'll keep you
Okay.
guys posted. But it
Oh.
is fun, but you'll have a chance to do the textured boards in that workshop.
This sounds great.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Do they have a lot of space there?
They do. They have a nice classroom setup. And then the grounds are gorgeous too. So, it's especially in May, it's really kind of nice, if you're in an all day workshop, especially 2 days in a row, it's nice to be able to step outside.
Mm.
Okay, Cape Cod Museum?
Yep, Cape Cod Museum of Art.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Betsy.
Okay.
Alrighty. So I
Okay.
guess I'm gonna leave now.
Okay, no more questions?
No more, not for
Okay.
me.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very much.
Betsy.
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank you
much.
for coming.
So much.
So
That was great.
inspirational. Thank
Oh,
you.
That's
good, good.
beautiful.
Loved
Glad
it.
you enjoyed it. I'll get this one finished in less than a month.
Nice.
Okay,
Okay.
that's
you.
doable.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
See you in
Bye.
February.
Bye, Betsy.
Have a good
Bye.
night. Bye.
Night.